NewsLine with Faraz Shaukat Ali.
A very good morning to you. You are watching a Newsline this morning. I am Chaturanga Hapuarachi. Now you might be wondering where Faraz is this morning. He travelled overseas a while back and he was doing the show for the past week, and now today you might be wondering where he is. Today is Faraz Shaukat Ali's birthday. So we have a special show dedicated for Faraz himself. We are going to question the person who usually questions. Good morning to you, Faraz.
Very good morning to you.
How are you doing? Seated on the other side of
On
things.
the other side,
Yes.
it's different.
Faraz, even though today is your birthday, I saw someone on the group had wished you saying, may you have many more corrupt activities in the country to unravel.
Indeed. But in Sri Lanka, Chaturanga, even though we live within this ambience of a good governance and so on, very unfortunately, there is a lot of corruption and there's a lot of departures from procedure that continues to worry the Republic and the people of this country. And so investigative journalists and journalists per se will have a lot of work to do, because it appears that it is the media who are leading the way, and very much in the driving seat is our very own network.
Faraz, before you joined us here on News First, in your lifetime, a little over a half century, you were once shot at for trying to reveal corrupt activities in the country. How do you look back at your life? Where are you right now? Are you happy with what you've done?
Well, I think I'm happy with what I've done, but it's not finished by any means. There's a lot of work to do, and the responsibility on the media is very onerous, especially in Sri Lanka. Of course, we've come a long way. At one time, Sri Lanka was the fourth most dangerous place in the world to practice our art. And as you know, this very network has been attacked, bombed, stoned, accused, and we're still here, and I'm sure we intend going on. And of course, all this Chaturanga we must bear in mind that any journalist is only as good as the publisher's metal. The greater the metal from the publisher, the greater the chances that all journalists will be able to bloom. And certainly, as you know, at News First, there are no holes barred.
For us, like I started off saying, even though today is your birthday, we have another development in the country in terms of the Foreign Exchange Act that is to come out. An individual is going to go to the Supreme Court with regard to this Foreign Exchange Act. I'm trying to get my head around what is happening there. Can you give me give me a small explanation as to what all this is about?
If we were to be brutally frank, this is a cynical attempt on the part of the Minister of Finance to bring towards himself more powers. Now, the Exchange Controller and the Exchange Control Act and so on comes under the purview of the central bank. And obviously, as you know, the central bank is listed now not under the Minister of Finance, but under the Minister of Economic Development, who is the Prime Minister, of National Policy Planning. Now, that's a ministry that comes under the Prime Minister. And the Ministry of Finance is split into three parts right now. The Prime Minister has one part, Ravi Karunanayake has another, and Kabir Hashim has the balance of the third. Now, there are serious concerns as to why this bill they're trying to sort of pass it very quickly. According to the attorney at law, now turned activist, Naganand Kodituaku, he said last night that he's concerned because this was listed in the order paper just towards the end of last week, and in between there's a weekend, there's a holiday on Monday, and so of the 7 days, 4 days have already gone for public for public comment on this matter. We must bear in mind that the Exchange Control Act was put in place because there was a need, and we are ever so dependent on foreign exchange and so on. And basically, as the Panama Papers revealed and the offshore leaks before that, and I think the HSBC leaks also revealed, that there are a number of Sri Lankan individuals and corporates who have money outside in the form of offshore companies and trusts and so on. Now,
but there is nothing wrong with that for us.
There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. There are legitimate uses for this. It becomes wrong when in Sri Lanka there has been a requirement that you need to let the central bank know that you have these accounts abroad. In fact, technically you're supposed to get their permission. But there are scores of Sri Lankan students who've been abroad and who obviously need an account, people who work abroad. And it's almost a given. The central bank are not so pedantic as to start prosecuting all of them. But when it comes to having avoided legitimate taxes, then it becomes criminal. And that's what is worrying. So there is a need to do some good police work. But in several cases, we have got in the court system, through the court system in Sri Lanka, we have details of various businessmen who accumulated millions of dollars worth of assets overseas and are held in offshore companies, nominee services and so on. And one of the biggest ones was, of course, in Gibraltar. Where a local court case in the Commercial High Court in Colombo revealed the directors themselves admitting that they had assets, cash and other assets worth in approximately, if I remember rightly, around $210 million. That's an awful lot of money. And so it appears that all these years these people have sort of got away with it because the exchange control haven't been doing their job, or they've been asleep, or they've not been fully delivering. So there needs some change, but I think activists like Mr. Korituaku are concerned as to the speed at which they're coming and the way it appears to be done covertly.
For us, when you speak about what is happening in the country, there were several major incidents that Newsfirst also touched upon. There was initially 2 years ago there was the bond scam. Then we came to once again a bond scam last year. Then there was the Volkswagen issue, and there were several key issues like this that this government came in to do, and they could not do it properly. Two of them were scams, but the other two were later said to be miscommunications from the part of the government. But there is an issue with this government as we speak. There is something wrong, but the people sitting at home and we working as journalists are still trying to figure out what is wrong with this government. Have you figured it out? What is wrong? Is there something wrong?
Well, yes, one thing's very wrong. There's an appalling lack of commitment to deliver upon the promises made. We must bear in mind that this country was trundling along after the war.
Yes.
And the people grew fed up with this constant mantra, oh, we won the war, and therefore we can rape the economy, and we can engage in nepotism and corruption, and nobody can question us, because it's our right almost. And the people were not willing. The people of Sri Lanka, by and large, are rather liberal-minded people, and they don't want wars, and they don't want troubles with their neighbors, because the more trouble one has with each other, the progress of the country is disturbed. And so the problem is that there's an appalling lack of delivery on the part of this government. Mr. Wickremesinghe, our beloved and dear Prime Minister, was, he sent a memo in March 2015 to all ministries saying that unsolicited bids should not be accepted as a matter of policy. And yet, not even 3 weeks later, it is the same Mr. Wickremesinghe who signed off on a project awarding a road contract. And that road contract was awarded to a company that this Mr. Wickremesinghe and his supporters criticized heavily, saying that it was 90% corruption, 10% contract.
Yes.
Well, without a tender, without a request for a proposal, they awarded the same company another contract. And Mr. Wickremesinghe said that they managed to save 30 billion. That's all absolute nonsense, because Mr. Wickremesinghe did not save 30 billion. Because if he did, we'd like confirmation from the Treasury that the Treasury has not paid out so much. So this is all absolute nonsense. It turns out that the 30 billion became 8 billion. And even now, we're not sure whether we saved any money at all. The point is, there are rational explanations, but no explanation is forthcoming from Mr. Wickremesinghe. They appear to think that we know everything, and the people know everything, and that's not on. We need more transparency. The problem with this government is that there is an appalling lack of commitment to deliver upon their promises they made, and the public at large will now turns out to be gullible enough to have believed what they said. And if they don't watch out, they will be out of office.
For us, interesting point there. Now, I can't ask you what the economic plan of this country should be, because you are not an economist. I can't ask you what the political future or what the political system will be like in the future, because you are not a politician. You are a journalist. I'm going to ask you this. Now, all this time, you at News First, and before that you at your paper, have been very vocal about the corrupt activities that is happening in the country. We ourselves together were very vocal about the bond issue. We see something happening in terms of the bond issue when the president came forward and appointed a presidential commission. But other than that, can you give me at least one example as to where a corrupt activity that is done by a politician or a group of politicians, be the government or the opposition, has come to light and some action has been taken?
Actually, we are hard pushed to do that. We have to bear in mind that Mr. Tilak Marapana, he resigned his position over the concern on that avant-garde matter.
Yes.
Now, that's good news for people who take a stand, but there has been no other thing coming remotely close. That they've been caught and something's been done. The bond is a classic case of this government shirking their responsibilities and shirking accountability and shirking responsibility and trying to pull the wool over the public's eyes. That is simply not on. We have the Prime Minister who has constantly defended his friend, the person whom he appointed, despite the objections of people like the President of Sri Lanka, the newly elected President at the time, of Champika Ranawaka, of Rajita Senaratne. All of these people expressed concerns, and they all had the same concern as we as a network had, and that was a potential conflict of interest. And everything that we said has come to pass, thanks in large part to the Presidential Commission of Inquiry. The Prime Minister appointed a 3-member committee. But just before that, almost moments, literally, the President said that he would appoint a commission. Why did the Prime Minister jump in? And in Parliament, and this is in Hansard, we can back it up. In Parliament, I believe it was on the 17th of March 2015, the Prime Minister made a statement on this issue. He told the Parliament, he told his colleagues and the listening public that he appointed a committee to investigate the bond on the 27th of February 2015. That's a joke. It's a lie. He couldn't possibly have known on the 27th, because that is the day that it was awarded. So how did the Prime Minister know something was wrong? How did he know? Did he make a mistake? Well, if he's made a mistake with the dates, he should have it corrected. He hasn't done that either. So there has been this constant problem that basically he's not listening to what the public are saying, and he's just doing as he wants. This is almost a form of elected dictatorship.
For us, from time to time, when UNP governments came into power, even in the past, these governments were called to be or said to be rich governments. They were told that they are rich governments because they were having very good connections with the business community. Do you think this time around that the UNP is in a situation of trouble because of these links they have with various people in the business community?
Well, do you know, the problem is this. The supporters of the UNP, for example, they seem to take this business of the bond and the attempt at sort of covering it up almost as though it's all right, because they say that a large number of the people I've spoken to say, oh well, you know, it helped the party. That's nonsense. If the business community want to support Mr. Wickremesinghe, they'll do it. But Mr. Wickremesinghe needs to know that he's up against a huge task. You see, Mr. Wickremesinghe has a history. He's a serial acquirer of power. If you look at it rationally. He's lost, I believe, around 29 elections in various platforms, various levels. And he's still the leader of the United National Party. He's done this by tinkering with the constitution of the UNP. Now that he's quite a serial adjuster of constitutions, if you like, he's a serial abuser of that, in my view. It's my view, okay? He's doing the same thing now that he's the Prime Minister. He's trying, by doing this, the exchange control thing and so on, he's trying to become the de facto Minister of Finance. He will end up with more powers than the elected president, and we must bear this in mind. It is only President Sirisena who has got a clear majority from the people of this country. Mr. Wickremesinghe's party does not have a majority in Parliament. They are the largest single party. That doesn't mean they have a majority.
For us, with everything that you're saying, now we heard of a cabinet reshuffle as well in the recent past, and the Ministry of Finance was in the focal point because the information that we received, sources said that the finance minister himself is going to be changed. Do you think that this is happening because, if this is true, do you think this is happening because the finance minister has not done his part, or he has not lived up to the expectation of the Prime Minister? What is happening there?
He is not. He has failed miserably.
But he's the best in the Asian continent.
Chaturanga, when you gain a little bit more experience, when you're running a company, you get a lot of people from the media world coming and telling you, we can give you this, we can give you that, in exchange for X, Y, and Z. That's why you'll see sometimes obscure airlines suddenly claiming to be the best, business class seat on a certain route. It's very obscure things. It's a bit like, I'm sure you've got them too. You know, emails, they send you emails and says, get yourself an MBA, get yourself a degree. This is basically, it's money talking. It's a transaction, right? I'm not saying this has happened here, but I'm saying that how on earth can anybody name Mr. Karunanayake, our Minister of Finance, as the best in Asia? I'm sorry, but they've got it wrong. This is the ministry that couldn't get a budget properly. This is the ministry that announces various changes, amendments in the taxes, but none of them have been listed in Parliament. So you can't enact it. You can't put it into place. And we have the State Minister of Finance yesterday telling us on the news that, oh, for the moment we'll do this under the old system, and then when it is passed in Parliament, we'll get the high rate. That's all very higgledy-piggledy. They're not running a corner shop. In fact, the corner shop is run even better than our finance ministry. So they can't get it right. And why can't they get it right? We believe because there is an acute lack of commitment to deliver. This finance minister, Chaturanga, came on this program and on the Face the Nation. He wanted to know whether the losses were quantified, and he said that they were not quantified. So what does the Auditor General's report do? Why can't people read and accept what it is done? The response to the Auditor General has been to knock the Auditor General. That's just not on. It is simply not on. You can't do that.
We saw, for us, with whatever is going on with regard to the Auditor General, we saw the Finance Minister having a bit of an issue with the Auditor General himself, and the Auditor General had to come forward and give explanations to the media and say that the Auditor General is positioned without teeth, and that if they are trying to bring in a new audit act and trying to control this particular Auditor General in question, that is putting the whole profession into trouble, all sorts of things. We saw various other things happening around the Finance Minister. My question, I'm still going to ask you the same question I asked you.
Yeah.
Is the Finance Minister going to be changed because he has not done his part properly? Or is he going to be changed, if he is going to be changed, because the Prime Minister does not like him? What is happening?
I'm not sure that the Prime Minister not that he doesn't like them. I think that they're a team. How can this man continue to be the Minister of Finance when one of the most fundamental jobs of the Finance Minister is to present and implement budget? And here, they haven't even done that. And he's the best Finance Minister in Asia, is it? I mean, that's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I'd like to know on what criteria they've been elected. Being a Finance Minister is something a little bit more involved than going and getting a loan. Loans are the lifeline of various economies. It's not a big feat. You know, they've got a loan from, or they're about to get a loan from the Mitsubishi Tokyo Bank. The insurance premium on that, there's a cabinet paper that we've seen, 10.07% in a post-war situation. Even the Rajapaksas, with all the claims of corruption and so on, after the war, that was in single digits. There is hardly a risk now. Sri Lanka has never defaulted. So why on earth does one need to go and pay such an astonishing high level? And the market talk, in the financial market, the talk is that that bank is represented by somebody who's already very much in the news almost on a daily basis. Now, this shows the level of influence peddling and political patronage that goes on in government. And that is probably why they can't get down to basics. Why do you think, Chaturanga, when we go on our Gammad program, on this movement, and when we go around the country, why is there such happiness when those people see us? Because they know something will be done, however small, but something significant will be done. Look at all those projects that have been undertaken, and the public have been helping us, corporates have been helping us, we've been doing that. Why is that? If the government was delivering, there would be no need. The members of the government are too far busy cutting and spotting all sorts of deals. Look at the coal transaction. The man who brought this all up to light, Maitri Gunaratne, was sent away, obviously under immense pressure from somewhere. Now he's the competent authority at Lanka Mineral Sands. I'm sure he's going to find out a few things there too.
Faraz, I want to focus your attention on one more point. Now, we saw recently that the Finance Minister has appointed monitoring MPs to look into the finance of various sectors. Now, if you look at the past and what happened in the past, even in the Rajapaksa regime, there were several monitoring MPs that were appointed. We had monitoring MP Sajin Was. He had corruption charges against him.
Yes.
We had Manusha Nanayakara. He crossed over. We had Mohanlal Greru. He crossed over. And there were various others who had corruption charges against them. I'm talking about monitoring MPs alone.
Yeah.
And this time when the Finance Minister was welcomed in Parliament saying that he was the best Finance Minister in Asia, few of the people who were in that group were also awarded monitoring MPs. the role of the monitoring MP
There
in the
is
finance
no
ministry?
constitutional role, as far as I know, for a monitoring MP. That's just some appointment. You can appoint anyone. It's like the managing director, the chairman of our company. But that's his company. He can do what he wants. He can ask you to oversee anything he wants. But that's his right, because it's his company. When you're in government, you can't do that. There are certain procedures. What is this? This is some nonsense that President Rajapaksa brought in. There is no provision for monitoring MPs. There is nothing called, there is provision for cabinet minister and all the attendant benefits and so on. But the constitution doesn't have anything about a monitoring MP. So all these are designed just to, you see, now we have a unity government, it's split. You have the minister from one party, the deputy from another one, and the state minister and so on. So it's all sort of split in opposites. So to counter that, they bring somebody in and stick them in as a monitoring MP. They probably get more benefits.
So they are receiving benefits?
Well, you know, your profile is a bit higher. You know, these are all little sweets. There is no real effect, because the rules don't provide for monitoring MPs. What is this? It is just, it's like a telltale person. It's like a whistleblower. He's there to report back to your little boss or whoever it is. This is all nonsense.
For us, with all this happening now, we know that today is your birthday and you're stepping into a new year in your life. Is there anything that we can look forward to as a country?
Yes, we can look forward to more of these santosums being given out. These jobs, monitoring MPs, are little santosums. You know, you have that, keep them happy, and then they'll get licenses to import vehicles and so on and so forth, and they're happy as Larry. You know, they're all happy. They're going about their thing. Do they really, in this period of goodwill and so on, as we head towards the Sinhalese New Year and the Tamil New Year, do you think that these people, these politicians, I described them yesterday as a circus of clowns. There's a big top. That's what is in Battaramulla. It's not a parliament, it's a big top. And it's a circus. 225 of them. What on earth are they doing? Some of them want to do
who are not
things.
even appointed by the people.
Exactly. So, you know, and some of them lost. All these things are designed, Chaturanga, to give hope to the other person so that they won't do the dreaded thing that most political leaders dread, and that is called the crossover. They want to stop them crossing over. And President Rajapaksa was one of the I think he's got a doctorate in the fine art of stopping the crossover, because he gave them so many benefits, cars and so on, and all that is now coming out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
When he uses the argument that he did this because he wanted a majority in Parliament to fight the war, to a point people would accept that, but they didn't accept it later on. They got tired of this mantra. You know, we're not warmongers. This society of ours is composed of rather liberal members of the public by and large. The average Sinhalese or Buddhist person doesn't want to have a fight with a Hindu or a Muslim. They can't be bothered. They want to live happily ever after, and they want to do business with each other, and they want to enjoy life together, which we've been doing. All of a sudden, there were some politicians who felt that this ethnic business is the best way forward to secure their political leadership. And these are gifts that they are given. All these are gifts. However well they coin it, these are gifts. Housing, vehicles, allowances for security, communications, secretarial services, offices where they're empty offices, and we're continuing to pay 24 million a year or whatever it is, right? And then advances to the owner of the property, 400 odd million, and then you don't sit there. It's criminal. What do you think will happen to our finance director if he did something like this? Do you think he'd be in the job? You know, this is what we need to remember, that the government, the business of governing, is not somebody's personal property.
Yes.
And if Mr. Wickremesinghe thinks that he can get away with it, well, I believe that what the people did to Mr. Rajapaksa will happen to him too. And his next birthday, because it's birthdays today, his next birthday will be spent in the privacy of his home in 5th Lane.
Faraz, even though this is your show, I have to at this point cut you out and tell, because our producer is shouting in my ear saying that we are out of time. It's 7:30. Really? So, final message to our viewers. You will be hosting the show once again from Monday, I believe. Right. So, final message to our viewers.
I think the final message should be to be on the ball. Pay close attention to the March the 12th declaration and keep lobbying your members of parliament. Write to the Prime Minister, write to your MP, write to everyone you can, write to the President, and lobby them and tell them that you're unhappy with various things. Why is the budget not implemented? That's a start. So that's the message. Keep your eye on the ball. Don't believe everything they say.
Thank you very much, Faraz, for being here in the seat of the guest this morning on behalf of the show. Thank you very much once again. So we hope to see you again on Monday.
Indeed. We have, I believe, President Nasheed's interview running tomorrow.
Yes. So thank you very much once again for joining us this morning. I have been Chaturang Hapuarachi hosting Farah Shaukat Ali's Newsline. Thank you very much for watching.